I hope people understand just how serious and how planned this all was to force more women out of the workforce than any other point in history since the end of World War II. Trump has cut federal funding to daycare centers in every state. And all they needed was a virgin chud to show up at daycare centers either during off hours or with two men and a camera demanding access to small children, pretending not to know that the reason they're locked down is because of men like them. This was planned in Project 2025. And for the women who think this isn't going to affect them because they don't get federal funding for their daycare, they're going to be in shock. When you cut funding to the bare bones daycare centers, well, then they close. And then the middle tier, they start raising their prices because their wait list goes up. And then the hoity-toity fancy daycare centers, well, their prices go up too. And when women can't afford these daycare centers, they start to close. And then women can go back to these violent marriages that J.D. Vance is such a fan of. And then they convince girls in high school that there's really no point in going off and getting a career and an education because you won't be able to use it anyway if you decide to have a child. This is some handmade stuff, and it was planned, and it is an attack on women everywhere.
What's up, family? So I've been saying this for a minute now, and I'm gonna keep saying it until folks finally start waking up. Some of the biggest supporters, defenders, and apologists for the most obvious scams and fraud going on in this country are these liberals, right? They are apologetic liberals who are basically being apologetic for reasons in regards of in the name of fraud, right? They obviously condone and enabling behavior that is not best for the country. And I like to call them liberologists because obviously they defend these scams and fraud, right? And the dramatic ones, the ones that sit in their little dressing rooms like her in front of ring lights with a shelf of self help books behind them and always sipping on overpriced coffee while they preach to the internet about empathy, equality, and how we need to be kind. Meanwhile, they're turning a blind eye to real fraud, real corruption, real people gaming the system on a scale most folks can't even comprehend. They're not defending justice, they're defending dysfunction. And they're not standing up for people that are covering up for scammers. And if you call it out, if you dare to ask a real question, like, yo, where's all this government money going? Or why are people with no ties to this country running up millions in taxpayer cash with no oversight? Now all of a sudden you're the bad guy. You're the problem. You are hateful. Man, just stop it, right? And I want to break it down real simple because folks that don't follow politics can get it. We got people, some of them not even born in the United States, who figured out how to finesse the American system. Straight like that. They came in, filled out some paperwork, threw a few terms together like a community program or a child care initiative, slapped a fake name on a fake company, and next thing you know, boom, they getting government checks like clockwork. And I'm talking about real bags, not a couple thousand. Nah, we talking millions. And you look at the numbers, and some of these operations done brought in 9 million over 3, 4 years. And the wild part, ain't nobody asking real questions. Why? Because every time someone does try to ask, here come these liberologists, saviors talking about you are being divisive or we need to support marginalized communities. Bruh, I'm trying to support taxpayers. I'm trying to make sure the people who go to work every day, pay into the system, follow the rules, that they are not getting played while fraudsters run off with the money meant to help folks. And let's be real, this fraud ain't hitting. It's not even slick. It's right in our faces. Like, pull up to some of these so-called daycares. No kids, no cars in the lot, no toys, no staff, no nothing. The light's not even on, but they claiming they got 150 kids enrolled, operating full time, needing $250,000 a year in funding. Where's the kids? Where's the workers? Where's the receipts? Bro, growing up, and I even done this with my own kid, right? Real daycare looked like kids crying, playing, running around, tired teachers with snacks in one hand and a baby in another, and parents pulling up late from work. And most of the time, kids didn't get enrolled into daycare until they could start talking, because then obviously you would know what's going on with your kid. Not saying that the daycare was bad or anything like that, but at least the kid would be able to advocate for themselves. And as always, you'd be able to ask them as a parent, how was their day going? How was, your day, and things like that amongst their peers. And it helps them smoothly transition into school, right? Because they already are part of the program of being amongst peers, and it's prepping them, right, to how to act around peers and things like that, right? So they won't be so attached to mom or dad. But what I've done, and a lot of parents back then did, women would stay with their kids until they were able to walk or talk. I had it where, working with my child's parent, I worked, the men would work, and the mom would stay until, the kid was able to walk and lift his head up and hold his head up on his own and talk, right? So I let the other parent take 2 years off, bond with our child while I worked. The men would go to work, the woman would take care of the child. And then when the child was okay in daycare and so forth, then the moms went to work. So that's how it went. So I don't know why, at the end of the day, if you want to be technical, and I say all that to say is, why are we responsible for women open up their legs irresponsibly, where we have to continue to fund child's care if they need to be more responsible how many kids they have, knowing that the affordability, let alone what comes with kids are expensive. So now I want to go into this next clip of a daycare owner who actually kept it real in regard to the matter and done things the right way, which is a slap in the face, but check it out.
So my husband and I own a daycare center here in Texas that we started from originally our living room. We were in-home providers. And I have a lot of feelings about this Minnesota fraud case. I watched a video where the journalist had gone up to the different facilities and somebody answered the door and they had asked for a tour. If somebody asks for a tour at my facility, guess what? They're getting a tour. I'm going to drop everything I'm doing because you have to be on your hustle game to be able to run these facilities. It is so expensive to run a daycare center and it is so easy to go under. And so immediately to not have any documentation or enrollment packets, you don't have enrollment packets made, you won't let anybody come in for a tour. Also, have you ever worked with kids? Like, there's no way you can open the door. I could be on the phone in my front office and somebody's crying or giggling or yelling. There are no sounds in those facilities. The fact that this went on for so long is so insane. And what really pisses me off is that now it's trickling down to people who aren't even related, who are just trying to do the right thing and run their facility. I got an email just now while I was at the gym from Workforce Commission about how, hey, if you are gonna need funding for da-da-da-da-da from NCI, you need to give us an estimation of how much you think you're going to need, because they might be asking us to jump through all these different hoops for attendance and for everything else, which is cool. But my point is, why do I, a upstanding citizen, somebody who's honest about what I'm doing, my heart is in it, why do I have to deal with this crap? I'm not even in that state. Most wonderful families that get on these wait lists to be in these subsidy programs, and they wait years and years and years to be able to actually get this subsidy to help them pay for childcare so they can go to work. It's not right.
And let's talk about really where the money is going. It's not just fake daycares, it's home health care scams, nonprofit money laundering, food programs where the food never even shows up. All these government programs that sound good on paper, feed the children, support the vulnerable, empower the community. But the money never makes it to the people it's supposed to help, and it ends up in the pockets of the middleman, shady operators, and folks who just got just enough paperwork to look legit, but no actual service being provided. And the media don't cover it because it don't fit the narrative. Politicians don't address it because some of them getting their cut. And if you talk about it online, you'll get shadow banned or labeled a conspiracy theorist. But it's not a theory, it's happening in plain sight. And if you want to get technical, let's get into this taxpayer talk, because this is the part that gets ignored the most when we start forcing working people to pay for everybody else's decision. When did we start doing that? Like, seriously, when did it become normal that you make a choice? You have a kid, like I said, to not work, to start a family with no plan. And now I'm the one that got to come out of pocket for it. When did we vote on that? I missed that memo. Like, I got nothing against kids. I got nothing against people needing help temporarily. Life is hard. Things happen. But this new thing where it's expected, not acts, expected for the government to play daddy for everybody. Nah, that ain't it. And it ain't sustainable. Back in the day, I already told you how it went. The mothers will watch us children, and the dads would go out there and work, and then when the kids got able to advocate and walk and talk, then the mothers would go work, right? Because then the kids and myself, like when I was a kid, will be in school. I did the same thing with my son when he was in daycare or whatever, with his mother. But what I'm saying is, for the people in the back, if your daycare is legit, if your nonprofit is actually doing the work, then you got nothing to worry about. And it's unfortunate because this woman right here, she busting her behind. She's operating a daycare with her husband, working 40 hours a week plus more, while others manipulate the system with zero consequences, right? So what I'm saying is, we're not talking about those who are doing everything legit. We're talking about the ones who built a fake company just to get a government contract, and the ones who don't even live in the neighborhood they serve, and the ones who saw the system and said, bet I can run this up. We got to stop letting feelings get in the way of facts. But what's happening right now is fraud, is corruption, and it's theft. And it's being protected by people who would rather look woke than be honest with these liberal apologists. Catch you in the next one. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Peace.